Order 52.
Yeah.
Barbershop Quartet coming up
Yeah.
in 3.
Definitely don't want to hear us do that.
Yeah.
We can harmonize.
Me neither. I play bass.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, welcome to another episode of Bottom of the Bill. We got some special guests here today. We got Craig Barnette and Todd Smallie of Mofro and a bunch of other projects. There's almost like too long of a list to go down with you guys, but I'm sure we'll get into all of it. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah. For sure.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. You guys are in town for the show in Douglas, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We did this thing in Douglas this past Friday. And then we had a show with JJ the following night. And then we just kind of, everybody hung around. And then we did this thing last night at the Blue Jay.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Little Super Bowl party in
Yeah, we had-
Douglas, Georgia.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Oh, yeah. Where'd you guys play in Douglas?
It's a venue called the Martin Center. It's just it's like a theater that's been there for I don't know how long, a long time. But some friends of friends bought the building a couple of years ago, and they've just turned it in. They got it up and running as like a really nice music hall. So
Awesome.
it's like 600 seat, I think, something like that.
What was that Blue Jay last night? You were just like a jam or something?
So we started doing the band that I have here in Jacksonville with Eric Brigman, who's JJ's keyboard player, and Pete Winders, who's his lead guitar player, and then our other buddy Ferris Nix, who's a bass player here in town. We started this band called 3, like a long time ago. Yeah,
Right,
like
yeah.
2001, something like that. We started, and we were just like a bar band, like doing covers and stuff. So over the years, that's kind of morphed into various things. We don't really play out at bars too much anymore. We're all busy doing other stuff. But we started doing this. We wanted to go play somewhere and do something where we could play the music that we wanted to play and not be worried about, you know, the typical cover band kind of potholes you run into where you have to play dance stuff and you can't take solos too long and there's like a football game on the TV. And so
Story of my life.
we talked to Kara, who owns the Blue Jay, and she's been super awesome. And so we started doing this every other Monday sort of residency thing called 3 and Friends. And so we took a break. We had it going. We were doing it for about a year, and then obviously took a big hiatus with the pandemic and everything. And then we started doing it again last summer, and we took another break this past fall. And so now we're trying to rebrand it, and we're just gonna do one a month. And the idea now is to kind of try and bring in a guest artist to kind of like feature that person, and or a theme being like, you know, we're going to focus this week on, or this show, we're going to focus on the music of this artist or something. And kind of like do some deep dives into some different stuff. And so with this worked out with Todd being in town, we're like, why don't we do the first one to kind of relaunch this thing and have Todd come out and be like our special guest. So
Hell yeah.
Blast.
yeah.
Hell yeah. So I would imagine that definitely helps, at least hopefully helps bring more people in the door when you guys do it. And then it allows you to focus more on doing something that's not so kind of running through the motions every week.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
It's important to keep those fresh, especially when you're doing like the residency gigs, because that shit gets tiring
Yes.
every
Yeah.
single week. People stop showing up,
Yeah.
running through the same tune. So
Exactly.
Do you have like any themes in the works or anything like that?
So I just locked in the next 2 dates last night with Kara. So we don't have the next, actually I think we locked in the next 3, for March, April, and May. And I don't think we've set up, I haven't quite locked in who's going to be next. I'm hoping to do that this week. Just like kind of dial in. I just got to we've got like a very short list of people we've kind of floated the idea to, and you know, a couple people are definitely interested in doing it. So we'll just kind of see what happens.
All right.
awesome.
Yeah.
So on top of all the projects you have going on right now, you teach as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you teach at a school, or you just all private
Just
stuff?
private, yeah. Just
Okay.
on my own. And I don't have a ton of students right now. I mean, honestly, it's just I kind of take people on as they kind of seek me out. I don't actively like promote myself really. I used to, but it's just now it's just kind of hard. Like I'm in and out of town and doing stuff. So Eric, our buddy who plays keys, like I don't know how he does it. He still keeps like a full like crazy, like 20 something students. I don't know how he does it. He's like the
Wow.
busiest guy I know.
I've seen him online where he's constantly just taking on students. Like on Facebook, he's pretty active, and I see him like working with new students. I'm just like, how do you keep a touring schedule and then like play in several bands, and then on top of that have a teaching schedule? That's insane.
He does it. He makes it work. And when we go on the road, he'll do virtual lessons from the road sometimes, you
Oh
know.
my God, that's insane to me.
So
It's like whenever I'm on the road, like the last thing I want to do is do anything outside of what the road entails. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do.
yeah,
It's wild, man.
it's hard.
It's hard work.
He knocks it out.
He does.
That guy's like never stops moving. He's just always doing something.
Yeah.
It's a side hustle.
Yes, the side hustle.
Big time.
Yeah.
So what are you kind of dive into your backgrounds a little bit, where you guys both come from? You guys both from Jacksonville originally, or?
Go first.
Yeah, guess I'll go first. Look. Testing. Just kidding. I was born in St. Louis, grew up in Granite City, Illinois. My parents moved us to Ohio for 1 year, Cincinnati, with my dad's job. Then we moved to Atlanta. I was about 14 years old in '84 then. And yeah, that was how we landed there. My dad was in the book publishing business and all that. Took the job there and get out of Granite City, Illinois, you know, Steel Town.
Yeah.
You know, beautiful spot, but yeah, it was a tough, you know, town back then. And yeah, and that was how I, you know, landed in Atlanta and had a lot of great, started playing bass and, you know, a lot of great local music teachers, things like that. So it was a good spot.
What was when did you discover music as something that you wanted to pursue? Was it in Atlanta, or were you doing it beforehand?
My dad and my brother both played guitar, and even in Illinois, my dad would have friends over and jam, and
Nice.
it'd be a nice, you know, sunburst P bass, and that's probably why I prefer those, right?
Yeah.
But it was cool. Yeah, they'd get in the living room and jam. He had another friend of his, Vicky Simpson, who, you know, had a great, beautiful voice, and they used to do a lot of like, you know, wedding processions and things like that. It'd be my dad with a 12 string. And so, yeah, he just kind of taught us, you know, basic stuff. We were like, you know, Simon and Garfunkel. James Taylor really was.
Oh,
like,
that's
he was
awesome.
really into like, you know, that folky side of music. And he loved music. So it was something where vinyl we were playing all the time. And then the jams in the house. And Granite City was funny. Like the Partridge Family, of course, this is the 70s, you know, late 70s when I'm a kid. Things like that were real popular. There was a family that lived down the street from us in Illinois, the Petrinic family, and they had like this Partridge Family band, and everybody
Yes.
in the family played. So it was hilarious. So I would scoot down to Tommy's house, and they had every damn harmony guitar and instrument, and yeah, we'd start banging around. I was like, bass. Yeah, so that's really how it kind of happened. You know, the local kids in the neighborhood, my dad played, and when he heard I wanted to play, he was like, "Oh, you got me a bass and an amp and a teacher," and
That's
we went
awesome,
right
man.
at it. And a Mel Bay #1 book.
Melbourne.
Pink.
Like it's interesting. Like how do you think that your dad's support and what you want to do played a role in your overall career? Do you think that definitely allowed you to maintain the path?
And I think so. We have a weird coincidence. You know, he traveled a lot. I
Right.
travel a lot. But yeah, we were both very much into music. Like we would go to, you know, concerts together, all that stuff. God, my dad would take me to, you know, Rush, Iron Maiden, Crosby, Stills. Yeah, we went to all kinds of, you know, shows and that together. So yeah, it was a huge influence. It really was, just to be surrounded in your living room, no matter how little it is, you know.
Right.
Even though my dad was never a professional musician, my brother and I were just completely, you know, enamored by music. We went nuts. We were like trying to learn every song we could. And it was always fun on the holidays. We'd be sitting around jamming and playing.
That's super
So,
cool, man.
Yeah, it was a huge influence, definitely.
Yeah, it's cool because like when you have somebody that kind of understands it, this is a tough grind, the music thing, and there's a lot of paying dues at first. So it helps when you have somebody that's like not telling you to, hey, maybe you should get a real job.
Get a job.
Yeah.
Exactly.
My dad's a musician too, and like they we grew up in South Florida and everything, and so when he was coming up, it was like Johnny Depp was coming out of that scene too.
Name drop, nice.
Well, I'm just saying before he became Johnny Depp, there was this whole like scene.
I was waiting how long until you're gonna say Johnny Depp.
Well, there was this whole scene that was kind of around at that time, and they were, the Romantics were coming out of there. That's what I like about you and all that stuff, and it's the whole thing. So I grew up with a lot of those guys when I was a kid, and it was just like, I think that's played such a big role in why I've been able to maintain the career. Because regardless of whatever I'm going through, my dad never tells me like, hey, maybe you should pack this thing up.
Must be nice.
He's
It was a good run, son.
Yeah.
I hear you.
It makes all the difference.
He wasn't in any hair metal stuff in the 80s, or
No, he was like more
Really?
the new wave thing.
oh, like Flock of Seagulls were doing?
Not that heavy, like more like Duran Duran kind of stuff.
There you go. That's good.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. They were in the
Minimal hair
70s.
products.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've seen some like old music videos of them back in the day. I'm like, what were you guys doing? That is not cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like more Tears for Fears kind of.
Yeah.
Tears for Fears is amazing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But it's the '80s just had a cheesy look overall. You know what I mean?
Whatever,
We
dude.
could talk about that. But,
Whatever.
yeah, man, it's wild. What about you, Craig?
So I'm a South Florida kid also.
Oh, whereabouts?
Pompano Beach.
From Pembroke Pines.
So yeah, so I grew up down there, and neither of my parents were really musical at all. I guess I sort of like, my parents used to tell me like when I was like 3 and 4 years old, I'd, play pots and pans, drums and stuff like that. And they've got some recordings of me like playing pots and pans somewhere and like singing while I was doing it when I was like 4 or something. But I went through a period where I was not into music at all. And then I think when I was like maybe like 9 or something, I wanted to play guitar. So they got me an acoustic guitar and I was like, sweet. Never touched it again. Like, just like there was no connection for me. And so then there was nothing for a couple of years. And then when I was in middle school, my mom basically was like, you're going into band, which I didn't want to do. But she's like, you got to do band for 1 year. I want you to try music. And so the first day in beginning band, I think I was in 6th grade. We had to write down our first and second choice of instruments. My first choice was drums. And that's what I got. And it was just immediate, just never looked back since then.
Really?
And so, yeah, so stayed down there. I came up here to go to UNF and graduated from UNF and then moved back to, well, not back, but moved to Orlando for a year. And then it was like, as soon as I moved to Orlando, I started immediately dating a girl here in Jacksonville and then got a gig with a cover band here in Jacksonville. So I was commuting back and forth. And I just, after a year, I went to Orlando because I had family there and I thought I might be going to get invested in the theme park musician scene. And I quickly realized that like, that wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so I came back up here and I've been here ever since.
Did you get involved in any capacity there? I mean,
yeah, I did. I was doing, when I was still at college at UNF, they do every Christmas, because, Disney has all the crazy Christmas stuff going on. They hire college musicians from like the area universities from the different music programs to kind of staff those bands during the holidays. So I did that like my 3rd year of college and loved it. It was so much fun. And, the money wasn't spectacular, but it was money, it was fun. And I was going to go back and do it again the following year, but I was so tied up with like working on my senior recital and stuff like that. I couldn't fit in the time to do it. But because of the connections I made through that, when I did move down there, I was able to get in doing some stuff. It was mostly just sub work here and there at both Disney and Universal Studios doing stuff. And again, it was fun, but it was mostly playing like, marching snare with a cymbal or something. Just kind of, I wanted to play like drum set, you know?
Right.
And I could just kind of see like, it just wasn't the direction I wanted to go, you know?
How much room was there for creativity in what you were doing there?
With that stuff, I mean, none. I mean, you're just playing what's there, you know? It's like, I mean, there was a little bit. I mean, there was like one band we did at Universal, and it was kind of like a percussion sort of weird. We were dressed up like tourists basically with like the Hawaiian shirts and like the crazies, and we'd run around, and it was like we were playing. I don't even remember what instruments we had, but like Universal was a little more laid back than Disney, just in regards of everything. Because back then at the time, Disney was really strict too about like, you know, men couldn't have beards, and it was like, you know, your hair had to be collar length, and they were like real strict. And Universal was just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
But they did give us like, they kind of helped like let us. They were like, you know, this is the idea. Like, you guys kind of come up with stuff. So we did have some creative input in that regard. But like a lot of that stuff, especially if you're coming in as a sub, it's like there's a show. This is the show. You just play the parts.
Yeah,
So,
totally. How many did you meet? A lot of people that were just going to be stuck in that grind forever.
yeah, and that was the thing too. Is there's just some absolutely incredible musicians down there that do that stuff, and some of them you can just kind of tell they've been doing it for years and years, and like that's, you know, that's their thing, and like I don't want to paint like everybody who does that with like a broad brush and say like, oh, you know, or make it sound like it's a bad thing. It just wasn't my thing. It wasn't what I wanted to do. But there's some musicians I could tell were just kind of like super jaded and like, you know, burn out on it. And I was like, you know, it's just wasn't what I wanted to do.
It happens in like any kind of thing. I feel like you get, especially in situations like that, corporate stuff, and then, you know, you can bring that to the bar world as well. People just kind of get caught up in that grind.
Yeah.
It's real easy, quick money.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, sometimes when you're trying to expand beyond that, you want to tour and be part of like a creative project. There's a lot of groundwork that needs to get laid before you can start to make money and do the thing. And it's not very appealing when you're just trying to pay bills and get yourself through, especially if you have families and stuff. You know?
Yeah. I always say that when I'm talking to people about what I do is like, you know, it's like, look, you do anything long enough and it's going to become like a job, in the sense of like, there's going to be times where you're just like, oh, this sucks. Like, you know, but overall, like I love what I do. And it's like, there's definitely times where I'm like beating my head against the wall, but I'd much rather deal with those times, few and far between they happen, than be stuck doing something that I absolutely am just miserable.
Absolutely.
Clocking in and out, you know, just to make a paycheck somewhere.
100%, man.
Instead of having our band be called Side Hustle, I think maybe Groundwork would be a good band name.
Groundwork, that'll be the side project.
We're just laying groundwork for 10 years, whatever.
Yeah.
We're going to make it.
We're
But if
gonna
it doesn't, we got all this groundwork.
just
You
keep
know what I
going
mean?
back to your parents. Like, the band's going to make it.
Yeah, it's going to make it. It's going to make it.
Yeah.
Hold on.
It's
Yeah,
time to
just
wrap
wait and
this up.
see.
Yeah.
A lot of groundwork. We've been digging a basement for 4 years.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious.
Sorry.
Speaking of that kind of stuff, what were your early creative projects like? The first bands that you formed and that kind of stuff.
I had, it's like in high school, we had like, you know, I was in like every band I could be in when I got to high school, like concert band, jazz band. I went to a small private high school, so we didn't have a big marching band. We just had like a pep band basically. But we had a small drum line, so I did that too. But then like there, you know, like we put together like a like rock band kind of thing, and we would just do like, you know, we did some Rush and like some Skid Row and stuff that was popular at the time, and we'd play for assemblies and things like that. But it wasn't really writing original music. I didn't really have a part in doing anything like that until probably really after college. And there was a couple bands I was in. Like when we started 3, we did like one album of like original stuff. And then we got sucked into the cover thing real quickly, and then that just kind of squashed all of that.
Yeah.
Because we were just so busy playing bars, we just never circled back or made the time to really focus on doing more originals. But I played in like an original band with some friends from college that was based out of Orlando. That was kind of like, it was kind of like Muse before Muse was a thing. I was the closest thing I could compare it to, like that kind of like, not hardcore prog rock, but just like, it had some progressive elements to it, and
Almost kind of like math rock, kind
a
of.
little bit
Yeah.
with with like vocals and stuff, and that was like that was the thing. We thought it was going to be, we were going to tour and it was going to be a big thing, and then as so many projects do, it just imploded upon itself.
Right.
It's like six of us in the band, I think, and it was like all of a sudden like this guy was like fell in love and didn't want to do the band anymore, and then it was like it just all fell apart. So
it's interesting. Something that I've realized, I think, about being in a city that has a lot of talent, but not necessarily a lot of infrastructure or like music industry things going on. That if people don't know that like how the opportunities can present themselves, then they won't seek those opportunities out. So it's like you go to like LA or like New York, Chicago, Nashville. So you can see a lot of, I mean, not to say that there's not guys that get stuck in the the circle or whatever, but there's people that are kind of have a better understanding for what that grind looks like, and they're willing to take those risks because they see the opportunity around them everywhere. In a place like this, it's kind of hard for people, I think, to see that opportunity to go for like the next level thing, because it's just what you see is just like bar bands making money, So
yeah, Jacksonville, the music scene here is definitely a little weird like that. It's and again, the time I was playing with that band in Orlando, this was like the early 2000s, and there was like not very many opportunities up here outside of maybe like Jackrabbits, and I don't even know where else for like a fledgling band to play,
Right.
So we were playing almost entirely down in Orlando.
Yeah.
There's lots of different places you could do that, smaller clubs. Here we had like Jackrabbits, and then you had to make the jump to like Freebird, and then from there it was like Florida Theater. You didn't really have a whole. It was like no, So that's why I think so many bands here would do the cover thing, and then they would like slip their original music in. But that'll only get you so far.
Totally, yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah,
when you do that, you're like, go back to playing Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah, yeah, totally. The people hate it, and then like it doesn't actually do anything for you because no one remembers it.
Exactly.
And like nobody's like, when you're trying to build your brand, your band, like you need those hard ticket sales to prove like what you're capable of doing.
Yeah.
And that's how promoters and agents and managers want to work with you. And then if you're just playing bars, it's like, well, people clap when they hear my song. It's like, that doesn't give me any numbers, guy. You gotta give me some fucking hard numbers
hard.
here.
Yeah, it was hard.
What about you, Todd? What were some like your early creative projects?
I probably did the same thing. We have a lot of the same story, and some aside from Universal and Disney. But you kind of cut your teeth meeting other musicians, obviously in high school and stuff like that, and you're getting together to learn Rush tunes and Yes and Living Color and all this stuff. So it was fun. I was lucky to grow up. My best friend was a percussionist and drummer from he ended up going to North Texas and all that, and it was like we really studied hard together. We really got into it, and you start doing again the songs that you want to play, and playing the high school talent band shows and stuff like that. We did have an interesting thing that was real neat in Marietta, Georgia, where we lived at, of course, and they had a teen club that was like 17 and under, 13 to 17. And they would have a live band every other weekend. And we knew the other live band. His parents owned the club, and it was called like Teen Beat, literally. It was on like Canton Road in Marietta. And so every other week, we'd go up there and, butcher the shit out of Running with the Devil and things like that. Yeah, it was great. So we got a lot of practice time in there. And that led me to playing in like, fraternity cover bands and, late teenage and 20s. And I think they, snuck me into Sharkies when I was 19, stuff like that. Yeah, we'd go, I'd get some gigs with the older musicians. But yeah, a lot of cover band gigs to pay the bills and things like that. But it was great meeting those guys through them. They obviously know so many great musicians that now, in your off time, you're hanging out and you're learning Wayne Shorter tunes and Pat Metheny songs, and you're advancing this stuff that you're obviously not going to do at the college frat parties.
Right.
So it's cool. Yeah, hanging with those guys. Yeah, we'd get together in our off time, start jamming, and and then just ended up at Atlanta Institute of Music, and when MIT was getting started in Hollywood, they opened one in Atlanta and one in Nashville. And I went there for a year and studied with Russ Rogers, really great bass player, and Jimmy Herring happened to be one of the teachers there. And that was exactly how I got involved with Derek. And not because of Jimmy, really because of Colonel and Jeff Sipe mainly. Jeff, he kind of asked Jeff and Bruce and Tinsley Ellis to help him put people together. So
What an amazing.
yeah, it was incredible running.
Jesus.
Yeah, and they would come into the Star Bar and watch our, band butcher Jimmy Smith. We like to butcher these songs first, before we get them down.
It's called customization.
There you go. There you go. Learning process.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'd come in and hang out and check us out, and we were like 22 or something like that then, and yeah, it was great. It was an incredible scene, like Little 5 Points in Atlanta then, and
this is
90s and that.
This is with Derek. You were playing in the band, or not just?
I had met Derek through those experiences. At that time, at that point, I met two guitar players that were real influential, Randy Chapman and Cooper Tisdale. And Randy was just like, is just a great, gut bucket blues guy. We would do Little Walter and John Lee Hooker and, Jimmy Smith and tunes like that. And with Cooper, we do more, Weather Report and Pat Metheny and some, more heavier
awesome.
tunes. So yeah, it was nice to, have that balance. It was like I had 1 foot in blues, 1 foot in kind of jazz fusion-y stuff, so
Totally.
really fortunate at that time to grow up around, those guys and to watch Colonel Bruce Hampton and ARU go at it for years, and Medeski Martin and Wood would do a residency then. We'd go over to these coffee houses and see him play,
Oh
and
my God.
then run home and practice. It's like, it was great. So it was a hell of a time to be around there in Atlanta. No regrets there, but yeah. And then at that point, I met Derek, and yeah, my life's been a mess ever since. Thanks, Derek.
So I
Just kidding. He knows I'm kidding.
So I definitely want to dig into that. Before we dig into that, I want to go to our bottom of the Billboard segment, though. So for those who don't know, it basically we suggest a song to be reviewed every week. This week is Billy's or my turn.
Yeah, it's your turn.
To suggest a song, and Billy's going to review it to see if it makes it on our bottom of the Billboard playlist on Spotify. So the song is Jackie Onassis by Sammy Ray and the Friends, and it's for me. You guys all checked it out?
Yeah.
Okay. So I discovered this band a few weeks ago. I had like a Wolfpack radio station on one of my bar gigs when I was on break, and I was talking to somebody, and this song came on. I don't think it was this particular song, but one of their songs came on, and I had to stop the conversation and run over to my phone to see who this was. And I've just been nonstop listening to this band ever since. And so I was curious as to what Billy would think of it, because him and I don't really agree on anything musically. Somehow we play in a band together, but we
That's very
can't.
true.
But like we
Opposites
don't.
attract.
Yeah, but we don't like anything that the other one listens to. So I felt like this would have been a good middle ground for us. I think her voice is amazing. It's kind of like a mix of Joni Mitchell and Napalm from Hiatus Coyote. And then the arrangements are very, kind of like soul R&B stuff. But then there's like these little hints of neo soul, like these really cool hits in some of their stuff. And the musicianship really shines through in like when they choose to make it interesting. But it's so sparing, which is what I love about it. You know. So that's why I thought about this song.
Yeah, I got super heavy Joni Mitchell vibes from it for sure. And I always have a problem with female singers when they start doing like the new like indie rock kind of voice where like
yeah.
And she does that a lot in this, and especially like the like when she's supposed to be doing like the la la la's part, she's like oh or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, Other than that, though, and I thought it was amazing. It's two saxophones doing the harmonies. Is that what it is, or is it another brass instrument? That's what it sounds like.
I didn't pick up on that.
I thought I only heard sax, but
Yeah,
I know. It was saxophone, but I thought it was two of them, or maybe they were layering it or something like that.
Yeah,
I thought that part was cool. I thought that I'm learning from you, taking a page out of your book. The changes when they started doing like the triplets and stuff.
Yeah,
it's pretty
it's
dope.
good to understand rhythm as a musician.
It's pretty dope. And I actually did like this song a lot.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, the only thing I would change is like, just you don't have to sing. During
just don't sing.
No. You don't have to sing if you don't need to.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the I don't know how it even goes.
Yeah.
But that part. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm with you, and I actually
Right?
did hear that, and it stuck out at me as a little like weird syllabalization going on. Some kind of.
I just thought that was really weird. I was like, you could have just cut that out, but whatever. But she does it like at every single chorus. And then there's like this vine from forever ago about making fun of like the way that girls sing indie songs now, where they're like, "Welcome to my kitchen. I have avocados and bananas," like that.
Okay, yeah.
But they kind of just like soften everything, and they're talking in like a baby voice or whatever, and then trying to do like whole Christina Aguilera thing, like.
Yeah, I don't get that vibe from her at all.
She
but-
didn't do it an insane amount.
Yeah.
But that's why I usually have a problem with new songs with female voice leads and everything like that, because I'm just like, oh, don't do
Because
that.
you hate women.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
You've said
pretty
that on the show
obvious.
before.
No,
A lot.
Now it's official.
Now it's official.
That I hate women.
Yeah.
I love women. Come on.
What do you guys think of the song?
I dug it.
Yeah, I did too. I thought, but I think that's something that I would actually listen to, you know what I mean? In my
Yeah.
off time that I truly dig. It's, I mean, those folks are incredibly talented, and she's from that Wolfpack camp, right?
Yeah.
And all them. So, yeah, I've been a fan of those guys. So there's almost I did like it though, just musically, like you were saying, the triplet drag
Yeah, it
and
was
melody
cool.
and things like that. I love that sound. It's nice that rhythmically things are changing, it's turning into a sound. It's turned into a thing over the last 10 years
Yeah.
and plus. But yeah, I think it's a nice addition. And yeah, she's amazing. Great
Yeah.
singer,
Is she
great
from
production
Tennessee?
on that.
Brooklyn, pretty sure. is
Yeah,
where they're
okay.
based.
Yeah.
That's like her
It just-
accent. I'm like,
Yeah,
what? That's
really
like,
cool. I thought it was cool lyrics too. I was looking at those as they were going along. Nice song,
Yeah.
definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, I thought the lyrics were
I'd like to
amazing.
hear. I'm gonna check out some more of their other stuff.
Yeah, now I'm going to hear it again in another light.
Sorry.
Now,
I do ruin a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's why we're on the show.
Yeah. Well, but I just think it's so strange that people put on like fake accents to do your styles of music
Why do you think she put on a fake accent?
to sound more like Americana country.
I mean, just because she lives in Brooklyn doesn't mean that she has to have that thick Brooklyn accent.
No, and not at all. I think what's so crazy is like you listen to like the Beatles and there's no accent, but you listen to like any country music and it's just like real hard accents. I don't really
especially,
understand
the
that.
Nashville pop stuff. Yeah.
I don't really get it. You sing with an accent? That's weird.
I don't know. I didn't pick that up with her. I thought she was great. But
Well, that's it. That's all I'm trying to say about that whole new agey female voice kind of
The
thing.
vocal acrobatics.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
I see.
That's it. The song itself, I loved it. It's
Yeah.
on. Mix it.
Makes it?
Yeah.
Nice. Hell yeah. Yeah, I so there's one end of the spectrum where it's like you have really simple standard like soul funky R&B arrangements and it's just the same stuff recycled for the last 50 years. But then you have like the other end of that where you have like Highest Coyote, which is a band that only musicians are going to like,
Yeah, right.
These guys found a perfect combination of like that kind of sound. So
It wasn't
thought-
too complicated.
Yeah, that's what I kind of got from it too. Is it's very approachable. I think for like most people, it's not something that they're immediately going to go like, "Oh, what's this?" Like it's. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's like pop, but it's definitely got shades of pop in it enough to make
Totally.
it like,
Be
hooky
accessible.
and and accessible. Yeah.
Jackie on
Yeah, there you go. Singing it already. Yeah.
It's a good.
So-
it's catchy.
Makes it on the playlist. Stoked. Billy
Yeah.
rejected my last 2 songs, or my last song.
You know, next time you should get like a karaoke machine and you can set up like a play-by-play, you know. Now listen during this part.
Oh, no.
And then sing along.
I
and
would
stuff.
love
It'd
to.
be great.
We just have to figure out the licensing
Yeah, we
rights
just-
on that. That's the only problem. We thought about doing that, and it was like, I don't know if we can get the licensing rights to ever. Like one of our songs one week was like Adele's new song.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And I was like, "There's no way we can
We
play
just need
that."
to get like an
Exactly.
undercover agent
the
at
show's
BMI.
over.
Just get groundwork together to do
Yeah.
your own
Yeah.
version.
Groundwork.
So
I love it. I love it. You guys want to be in our new side project, Groundwork?
God.
You guys got time or what?
Yeah, you know. I mean,
Really?
We'll fly you in once a week for rehearsals, Todd. We'll make it happen.
Groundwork? No, there's no shows. It's just
I'm
rehearsal.
It's just rehearsals. Yeah, that sounds way too familiar.
brilliant.
No, it's not even rehearsals. It's just meetings.
It's just meetings. Yeah.
About rehearsals.
About rehearsals.
Well,
about
never
gigs.
shows.
That's a lot done.
Yeah.
Well, just every agenda is talking about what we're gonna do when we get a record deal.
Yeah.
No, it's meetings about what we're gonna talk about the next meeting.
Yeah. There's a whole bit that Seinfeld has on that. He's like, it's really all of show business is just meetings, and the shows that they put on air are just so they can have meetings about the shows. It's not even about the shows. It's so good. It's just so funny.
I have to go back for that. That's hilarious.
Bro, it's like, it's funny once you start like getting into like these next layers of the industry, you start to realize how much of it is just like, yeah, we're just having phone conferences and we're having like it's all of these things to set up the next thing. So when do we get to play our instruments?
Never.
You know?
Groundwork.
But all right, so I wanted to ask you guys about like some of the like more current stuff or things that you've kind of led you to where you're at now. And I have to say that when I was like 21, I kind of got into the jam band stuff a little late, but when I was like 21, I discovered Derek Trucks Band, and I must have worn out that live DVD from at the Beacon. Like, just
Awesome.
I can sing every solo on that album. It's like, in particular, the Down the Flood solo, the second solo that Derek takes on that. I was just like, how can a guitar player do that? And like the band as a whole, it was just, you guys were so fucking tight, man. It was unreal how you could like push the tempo of something and then you could bring it right back down in volume and tempo. Like you would just speed it up by like 10, 15 BPMs and then bring it right back to where you started. I was like,
I don't even know if we meant to do that.
I was just like, whoa. Yeah, man. So
Yeah, exactly. That's me on drums. That album was really special to make. That was Derek's studio was completed, and all of his family and friends and all these people that we knew helped build it. And we immediately got that damn thing, plugged in and, went right at it, and it was a hell of a time. You're really in another creative mode there. We're finally not in the studio in Nashville or LA or Louisiana or something, we're in Derek's backyard, and, it was
Right.
great. Yeah, it was so relaxed, so chilled out. We had all the time in the world to play with those tracks and that. Yeah, this guys did an incredible job, really, mixing and engineering.
What's the dynamic like working in a studio like that versus some of the more commercial ones?
Well, and I know Craig would attest to this too. Some of them you find, and you guys know this as well. It's our cool, camps out there. God, we got up to Woodstock, New York for a couple times and recorded up there, and I've gone to Louisiana. Those places are set up for you to hang out and live in, and I mean, hell, we hardly leave. We just stay there for 7 to 9 days at a time, and then of course you have some smaller installations. But luckily, in my recording experiences, even with JJ, we're in a studio that we know well. It's someone's house. It's a place we stay at, we hang at. And same with those, spots. Dockside Studios, we recorded in a lot. really nice place in southern Louisiana. Those spots are the best. You hang out, you're really getting creative, you're going at it from 11 a.m. till 3 at night, and start up again. So those are the best ones. With Derek's place, he had them set up like those. That's exactly why he put it behind his house, and we can go fishing and hang out, record, not record.
Right.
It's like, go have dinner right there. We just never leave. So that was definitely his number one requirement with having a studio, and especially to have it at your house and not at another property. So it was good.
It takes a lot of the pressure off. I know that we're always thinking about that when we're in the studio. It's like we want to get the best takes that we can, but we're also like watching the clock because we're on a budget and everything. So that
true.
Plays into it. What was the writing dynamic like with that band?
Of course, a lot of years. I was with Derek for 15 years, so we definitely did a couple different things. Of course, you do a little bit of it on the road, when the inspiration hits you or whatever in the hotel room. But when we would prep for, a major label recording, we used to get a cabin in the middle of Georgia, and we would do the same thing. We would hang out for like 7 days. We wouldn't do shit. Take a bunch of BB guns and beer and whiskey, and we set up all the gear. Yeah, we'd like go into a rental home and just push all the furniture over in the corner, and then all the gear would be set up. So, and in that process, everyone would just bring in grooves, kind of throw other ideas, or someone might have an idea that works with your idea, and the songs kind of really grew from that. When we went into the studio, we had a really solid 75% foundation of what was going to go down to tape, and see how it works. So it was a very cool process. And then you get into those nice studios and that, and it's like, you just take it even further. And like I said, the drill, you're going at it for 12 hours and trying to knock out a song or two. And it was a real nice creative process with Derek.
I love that idea of going out to a cabin in the woods just to write stuff, right?
Yeah, hang out and write,
so cool.
and chill, listen to music. Yeah, we'd have a blast, man. Great time.
Did you guys ever like hate each other halfway through that
Sure.
process?
Yeah, we're
like,
a rock
fuck
and roll
you, bro.
band.
That album, or that song sucks, or that part sucks. That's how we talk to each
I'm
other. So I'm
offended.
curious. Yeah.
Why is Todd crying in the kitchen? No, we were pretty, tolerant of each other, and a lot of our albums, I felt with Derek, and especially in the beginning, were a concept idea. It was like we were recording things that we were listening to that we were really into at the time. And, a lot of those albums have, a lot of cover tunes on them and stuff in the beginning.
I was curious about you guys did one of the first things I started listening to once I started really diving in was you guys did like a jazz record, kind of. It was like you did like Mr. PC. Did you play on that record too?
Yeah, on that first one. Yeah.
That was super cool, man. Really cool interpretations of like
thanks, man.
Kind of, I mean, I wouldn't say standards, but just like cool, interpretations of classic jazz tunes,
It was wild with Derek, and it really, I have to admit, I don't know if it was all of our ideas. I mean, we were recording the things that we were out playing live, but the producer that we were working with is a big jazz producer from New Orleans, John Snyder, and he was a, huge piece of us, getting album deals, getting the right production, getting into the right studio. Tony Daigle's great engineer in New Orleans and south of there, Dockside Studios in Lafayette, Louisiana. Yeah, beautiful spot. So we did a lot of those albums out there. I think we did the first 4 there. And it was, I don't know, there's, like I was saying earlier, it's just nice to be out, in those spots and try something different. And that's kind of what happened. John was like, hey, you guys are playing Coltrane and that, let's record it, like, okay, and here's our album, so cool. It ended up with a couple Coltrane tunes and another jazz standard. So Yeah, it's funny. It's probably Snyder's fault. Blame it on him.
I fucking loved it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, because I'd heard all this other stuff, and I was like, there's no way these guys played jazz like that too. And then like I listened to that record, and I was like, you guys just do whatever the fuck you want. It's ridiculous.
Well, and Derek was amazing. I mean, it's one of the things I'm most proud of. It's like we truly grew up together learning how to play, these styles of music and different artists. We were both into Wayne Shorter and Coltrane
Right.
and, Jocko and just all these guys for years. So when we came together, it was new for him. He was like, oh crap, I got to learn Mr. PC. And then we were like, Jesus, do you ever? Let's record this. We were freaking out. We were like on the slide and everything. And he was just like picking right up on this, and starting to dig into, some more advanced, harmony and theory and that. So yeah, we just kind of went for it, And our drummer, of course, great Jan Rico Scott, was, such a big jazz guy. His resume was outrageous. So
Yeah, man.
it was probably his fault too. We were recording Coltrane soon,
Sure,
songs.
Kofi had something to do with that too.
Yeah, later on,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, at that point, yeah, he joined the band probably about 4 years after that. Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
and then it stepped up, to the next level.
What an insane lineup of people, man. It's just, yeah, it's awesome.
A real honor. It is. Yeah, Kofi's a maestro.
Yeah,
I know.
totally, man. And Craig, what about you? So you have like an insane amount of credits. The list that you said, I was like, holy fuck, I'm going to say all this. So yeah, you played with Jackson Browne, John Oates, Donovan Frankenrider. You played with him too, right?
No, not with Donovan, no.
G Love, Widespread, North Mississippi All Stars, Sugar Ray. Like, how involved were you in these bands, or was it?
So a lot of those artists were like 1 or 2 time, just kind of like sit-ins, or like, like with John Oates, like he, that's like one of the funniest like things ever. But when we were playing with, when I was with Donovan Frankenrider, we were playing in Aspen and we're sitting there, and like, this was right about the time, I don't know if you guys ever got into like the Yacht Rock web series at all.
Mm-mm.
I'll send you a link to it after, like later, because you guys have, it's like the most amazing thing you'll ever see.
It sounds hilarious.
It's fantastic. So we were all into this thing, and so in this series, which is basically like it's like a fictional account of like the stories behind Yacht Rock and like all the different, like the Doobie Brothers and Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins. And all these, and in the series, like Hall & Oates are portrayed as like these bad guy antagonists who are always like showing up and causing problems. And so we we'd been watching this stuff, and we were all like geeked out on it. So we play the show in Aspen, and Donovan comes in. He's like, John Oates from Hall & Oates is going to come out tonight. And he's like, apparently, like, his wife's a fan, and like they're going to come to the show, and he might even sit in. And we're like, oh, that's random. Like, but okay, cool. And, so he showed up, he came out, and one thing led to another. And he would pop in and out of shows when we were in that, because he lives out there. And then I forget how long after that it was, he was like, he got with Donovan. He actually joined the band for like a 10-day run of shows or something.
Wow.
And came out and toured with us and was on the bus with us and everything. And he even made shirts for everybody, and he called it the Haulin' HAULIN' Oates Haulin' Oates tour.
I love that.
And so I still got the T-shirt. It was amazing. So like with him, it was like, we were playing with him every night and stuff. But some of those other artists, it was just like 1 or 2 time things where it was like, I got like one time I was down in Australia. We were doing, I think it was Byron Bay Blues Festival. We were down there with Donovan and like Jackson Browne and Louis Conte, the percussionist, and like I can't remember who. There was a couple other guys were doing like a throw together thing. Michael Fronte was one of them too, and they just kind of like co-opted me to come up and play drums on a few songs with them. It was just like a throw together thing. So we jammed a few songs. And like Donovan too would do this like fundraiser every year in California, and so he'd always have various people come out, and so we'd back them up. So like that was where like Sugar Ray happened, and Jackson Browne would come out to that almost every time too.
Do you guys ever like just get like clam up when you're in those situations where you're playing with people? They're like legends. You know what I mean? That
I mean, truth be told, unless like most of the time, it just depends on the setting, and 90%, like 90% of the time, if not more, like those people are like super chill and very laid back, and they're not high pressure, and they're not like diva-ish at all, you know. So it's like it's easy. It just kind of happens, you know.
yeah.
The only time in recent memory that I was really nervous, I know the one time was when we did the Tonight Show with Donovan, because that's like you run the song once and then they tape it. So it's like if you mess up, you don't get a second. It's like you mess it up, it's going out and everybody's gonna see it. So that one I was a little bit like okay, don't screw this up.
Oh man, that's gonna mess. Like, there's also like millions of people just like watching you
No
like
pressure.
live.
Yeah.
It's like,
So that was pretty crazy. And then man, I mean, honestly, too, I was actually a little nervous, like coming back into JJ's band, because I was just like, I just, Anthony Cole, who was the outgoing drummer. I mean,
monster.
Those are some big shoes to fill. So I was a little bit, nervous about coming in and wanting to do a good job and which, as it's turned out, I guess I did.
Did you ever?
I mean, I can imagine you crushed that gig, man. I've seen you play
Absolutely.
at Blue Jay with Eric and Pete
Mm-hmm.
a few years ago, and I was blown away by some of the stuff that you were doing, and I was just like, JJ's got such a great band behind him, like with all you guys. It's like you guys are all capable of doing whatever, but you play that role so well, which to me is always the most impressive thing about musicians, when you know what they're capable of doing, but they just show that restraint because they're just playing to the music and playing the gig,
Yeah.
So I'm sure you crushed that gig.
Eric and I talk about that a lot. We're just talking about like playing for the gig and not playing for yourself. And it's a tough thing to do sometimes as a musician, especially as like a sideman, because it's like you it's easy to get caught up in the like you want to like kind of show off your thing and like do just having that kind of professionalism to be able to step back from that, and it's like if you just need to be playing just a real straight simple groove, then that's what you need to do, and not try and make it into something else or like push it one way or the other,
Right.
Show off your new cool licks. You just
Exactly.
learned and got down.
That's right.
We had a funny thing with a drummer buddy of mine. He'd look at me and he's like, "I'm Steve Gadd," and I'm like, "I'm Lee Sklar," and we'd be playing a groove. He's like, "I'm Bernard Purdy. I'm Chuck Rainey," And we wouldn't leave that. Yeah,
It's hilarious. It's interesting though, because like as much as we want to kind of show off, and because you want to make yourself, I mean, obviously it's fun to do so and try and like push the bounds of creativity on the spot, but there's also an aspect of it where you're like, maybe the right person's here that's going to see me, want to call me for that gig or something.
Yeah.
And ultimately what's going to get you that call is just playing the part though.
Yeah.
Most of the time, anybody that's out there that's worth a damn is going to see you stepping out and taking liberties where you shouldn't. And so I'm not going to call that guy for a gig.
Yeah.
But in like every movie,
really.
that's not the case. It's
Yeah.
like you get your spotlight because you're just doing the craziest thing that you can do at the time.
Right. And that's why there's so many broke musicians out there, is they watch too many Hollywood movies.
Yeah. It's not like the
It is
movies,
not
kids.
easy.
Yeah.
Not even
That's
close.
for sure. And that's why we played the Blue Jay last night. It's like, I think I took like 6 bass solos. Eric's looked at me, he said, "Take another bass solo." I was like, "I'm just going to play the same crap I played on the last solo."
I gave you all my
Are you
licks
sure
already,
about
bro.
this?
I'm curious as to what the band dynamic is like with JJ. Are you guys, is the writing process collaborative? I've seen when like the shows where he's very much on stage, he's very much in control of what's happening up there. It's definitely eyes on him. Is that kind of the dynamic off stage too?
I mean, not in a like negative aspect, but he's
No.
very like he has control of the entire thing. Like he's very, and again, I'm saying this like it's not like in
It's
a bad
his-
way.
It's his baby.
It's his baby. And so he's like he's very and honestly for me, like I love it because
Totally.
there's no guesswork. Like he knows exactly how he wants stuff. And so same thing like with the writing process, he pretty much he pretty much brings to the table just about all the parts.
Yeah.
And then he's like, now you guys take them and make them better.
Yeah, he's like, go
And
nuts.
And, so, and same thing with like the live shows, he's knows exactly how he wants things, like,
Yes.
stage layouts and lights. He's got, he's involved at like every aspect of the shows and everything, which again, I think is fantastic because
Absolutely. There's nothing better than working for someone who knows what they want, knows how to explain it to you, and sit down and play it for you.
Yeah.
Right, because he plays like all these different instruments.
Damn straight, yeah. So he knows what he wants and lays it out well. You're not kidding. I enjoy it too.
Isn't it? It's such an interesting concept. Something that I've learned as I've gotten older is that, when you're first kind of starting off with bands, like you have this thing where, like, especially if you're the one kind of putting it together, where you don't want to come off like too strong or off-putting. Like kind of everyone gets to say in this and that. But the more like the older I've gotten, the more I've done the side guy thing, and the more I've done the band leader thing, I realize, well, if I'm in the side guy position, I don't really want to have that much of a voice. Maybe creatively, I like to have like some leeway here and there. But when it comes to literally anything else, I don't want to feel like you're relying on me to make the thing happen. Like I'm in this band because I want you to make the thing happen.
Yeah.
So it's cool when somebody has kind of mastered that skill. Someone like JJ who's just like, it's like I know what I want, and you guys don't have to worry about anything. Just show up and do the gig. It's gotta be a good feeling.
Yeah, no, it's definitely great. And the band dynamic, and like we're all like, a lot of bands go through personnel changes over time, and JJ and Mofro is no exception to that. But it's like now I feel like the lineup we have, there's no drama.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like we're
some
all
hangovers.
Yeah, there's hangovers. There's definitely hangovers. But yeah, I mean, it's great, and it's fantastic too. Like Pete and Eric and I have been playing together for the better part of 20 years, and so like when this whole thing came back together with JJ, it was funny because so I played with JJ way back when he was kind of just starting Mofro. So like right after Blackwater came out.
Oh wow.
In 2002, I got the call, and so I played with him for a couple years there, and I recorded drums on Lock Lusa, which was his second record.
Awesome.
And then he changed the band up. We went our separate ways, and when everything came full circle in 2015, the Greyhounds, who'd been in JJ's band, had kind of announced they were going to step back and focus on their music. So Trub and Farrell. And so Eric was on the short list to replace Farrell on keys. And I was just kind of like, oh, well, that's cool. Like, that's awesome. But I remember being kind of like bummed. I was like, man, I wish I could get back in that band.
You, buddy.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, that's going to be weird. Cause like Eric and I have been, best friends since forever long, it's just like, and then AC left, and I just happened to be on a gig with Dennis, the trumpet player. And he's like, hey man, you want to play drums for JJ? I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
So I actually ended up getting back on the gig before Eric did because the way the timing worked out.
Yeah. That's right.
So it was like everything just kind of, I guess some people would call it kismet.
Yeah. That's amazing how that works out sometimes, right?
Yeah.
It's especially when you have like, he's pulling guys from all over the place and you're in Denver, right? And so I'm curious as to how you guys make it work. Obviously, when you're running an operation like that, like you guys probably know what the year looks like, give or take a few gigs here and there, right?
It depends. Things right now are a little different from that because he's just had a management change, and like we used to get like an updated like spreadsheet calendar like every couple weeks that would have like all the dates that are being like worked and booked and everything. So now we're still kind of like, we're in this little bit of a gray area right now where there's been a couple of times where I'm like, I open Facebook and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm playing in Tampa in April with JJ, So it's like, but everything's fine. But I mean, typically we don't know, like we've got shows right now I've seen that are booked as far out as like September, I think.
Okay.
But, there's still a lot of stuff that's going to fill in between now and then.
Right.
So we don't know that far out.
So what's the prep like before you guys go on the road with everyone living in different places? You guys like fly in and then do like dress rehearsals and do the whole thing before? You just kind of go for it.
We rehearsed a couple times when this current lineup kind of came together. We did a few rehearsals, but honestly, like, we don't rehearse.
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
just
gosh.
do it on the road at sound check,
Yeah,
you
we'll
know,
just-
and we just also kind of figure that's the way to go, you know. It's like we'll get a game plan. Everyone's in the back of the bus learning, you know, what we're going to sound check, and then we get up there at sound check and try to knock it out like we're going to do it at the show. And so we've really kind of taken that route also.
Yeah.
And I think even for JJ, you know, time is money, and it's like we're up there on the stage with all this production, and we've got time to rehearse some stuff. So we get a lot of it on the road, you
And
know.
we're on our gear, obviously, and then like we're on our good ear system. So it's like it's, you know, instead of like if we were going to rehearse here, you know, it would be, you know,
through none of the gear that we played.
Yeah, it would
through,
be
and-
totally different
yeah,
and weird.
yeah.
So it's
Right.
it's like it'd be out of context rehearsal. So it's nice to just knock it out during sound checks. Now
Yeah.
there's some exceptions to that. Like we're going to be doing some rehearsals coming up for this St. Augustine thing because it's a big. He's adding some
Yeah,
pieces to the
special
band for it.
shows, definitely.
And we're going to try and like play some of the new material and some different stuff. So there's like times like that we'll do some rehearsing. But now, I mean, the whole band is here, is local, except for this guy.
Oh,
So,
okay.
you know, so that's the other thing. So if he did, it's like he was saying before, it was like they had people in Orlando and Austin and Memphis and all over. So it was a lot of flights and hotels to get everybody together.
Right.
Whereas now we're all basically here, except for
Yeah, exactly
the
there.
Colorado kid over here.
What is it about bass players in Jacksonville? Is we can't find a bass player to
Save
replace
our
ours.
fucking
So
life,
do I
man.
have to like phone somebody in from Denver to get a bass
this
player in this
point?
town or what?
There's a lot in Denver. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Somebody with a lot of miles on their frequent flights.
Yeah.
Get it in. I don't care. We'll hire anybody at this point.
No, I'm not saying that. but- what do you guys listen to on the road, just in your personal time?
What's your jam lately?
Man, I honestly go through phases,
Yeah.
and admittedly, I'm almost ashamed to admit that a lot of times when I'm on the road, I'm not listening to a ton of music. But it's usually when I do, it's something random that like it just comes across my radar, like, you know, like Dennis, our trumpet player, like he's always constantly like finding crazy stuff, and he'll send me stuff to check out, you know, just different random things. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just, I'll listen to just about anything. The only stuff that I don't actively listen to is like, I'm not really into a whole lot of hip hop.
So you probably love the halftime show.
I actually thought the halftime show was from an entertainment perspective, I thought it was pretty good.
Amazing
I was,
production.
like, the production was killer, and like, you know, and again, like I should say, like that era hip hop, you know, I mean, I really like that stuff because I mean that was, you know, I dug that stuff back then. Now, like with the stuff that's more current, like particularly with all the trap stuff, and you know, talking about like vocal air acrobatics and all the like crazy syllabalization things that happen now, where it's like, you know, it's like it's just gotten away from like actually like rhyming words, and it's just more like making two sounds that sound sort of similar. Like it's just weird, you know.
Smushing them together.
Yeah, it's so like I'm not
They
in.
don't have to be perfect.
It doesn't have to be words anymore, really. It's just,
Yeah.
the sounds.
That's what I'm saying.
What does a
It's like,
bird
you know, you
sound like? Just sound like a bird. You know, it's like
It's like we were listening on the way here. I played him the song, and you guys might even. There's an Apple commercial, and it's this guy, and it's the one where he's like, "I look real good today." And it's the kid riding around on the bike.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So I was like, I heard that commercial. I kept seeing it. I was like, it kept coming up on and I was like, I gotta look this song up.
So silly.
And like I looked it up, and it's literally like 2 minutes of basically that with like 2 verses of.
It's just he's talking. It's
Yeah,
and it's just like just gibberish, pretty much. It's not gibberish, but nothing rhymes at all.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy.
You don't have to rhyme with your lyrics when you're singing, but like, isn't that the whole point of rap? Is rhymes?
well, yeah.
I don't know.
Just, like,
I'm
the
sorry
flow
if
and
I'm
like
wrong.
the whole just. I think the it is about the lyrics more than anything else.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when you're up there and you're saying quite literally nothing, then
Right.
that's
Yeah.
kind of takes away from the whole
Yeah.
thing, at least in my opinion.
I'll show you the song that he's talking about after this, and you'll be like, "Oh no."
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah, it's just crazy, and of course it's got that hook, so it's like it's one of those things that like it sticks in your brain, and you're just like,
Completely.
And I was kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to go down that road, and I don't want to bash anybody, but
Let's blast him.
It's blast.
Sure.
No, I'm just messing around.
Craig's thinking about it. He's like, I'll go there.
Let's start some wars. Let's go.
I don't need the drama. So anyway, back to the original question, like that. I'm not particularly into. And I will say this: I absolutely detest modern pop country music.
I think we're all. I mean, at least I'm in the same boat with
I
that.
absolutely I almost hate that probably more so than I do some of the really like bad R&B and hip hop that's been coming out. Just because I just feel like it's gotten so just, I don't know, man.
Surface.
It's just terrible. And it's like you were saying, it's like they just so over the top with the country twanginess, which I guess they kind of have to do because that's really the only thing that's almost making it even sort of remotely country.
Right.
I've given up. I either put The Chronic on or I put George Jones' greatest hits on. It's one or the other. I just didn't even bother listening outside of that. I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
So you're doubling down the other way on that.
These two are fine. Perfect, actually.
So yeah, I mean, I'm listening to all kinds of different stuff. We'll a lot of times, we'll hang in the back lounge of the bus and like somebody will crank up, some jazz. Or we'll get on some crazy prog rock trip. Or
totally. It gets ugly back there. People are knocking on the door. Fucking turn it down. Man. Do not want to hear physical graffiti at 3:30 a.m. Yeah.
Talk about a record that I highly overestimated when I was younger. And here's what I'll say. I love the songs on that record.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, right? You could tell they were all on fucking like copious amounts of heroin in those performances. Listen to Jimmy Page and Robert Plant try to line up on In My Time of Dying. You're just like, do you guys hear each other? Because you're just not. It's not happening.
Improv it out.
Yeah. You think they did drugs? For real? I don't know, man.
I think drugs did that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, we got Jimmy Page coming on the show next week, so we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Is he still alive?
Hardly. Him and Keith Richards are just barely hanging on.
I don't know. He looks better than Keith, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least you guys have like your separate quarters in a bus. We're riding around a GMC van, so we don't have a choice but just blasting.
Been there, done that.
Yeah,
No complaints.
it's like just like blasting obnoxious podcasts at 3
that's what
o'clock
we
in the
do.
morning.
We can't decide on music. We just listen to comedians half the time.
Yeah,
Which is the best way to
there you
stay
go.
awake on the road, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're laughing, you're not going to sleep.
There you go.
Exactly.
I'm with you.
So I got one more question before we do unpopular opinions. I'm curious, do you guys have any advice for upcoming musicians, band leaders, side guys, anything?
Boy.
I mean, I would just say, as far as for upcoming musicians, I feel like I was kind of thinking yesterday about like, unpopular opinions, and I was like trying to come up with one. And one of the things I was thinking about was like how I feel like a lot of music schools really don't do enough to prepare the students for like actually what they're going to face out.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, it's awesome that you can play that song in all 12 keys backwards and forwards, and you've transcribed every Coltrane solo there is, but it would also be helpful to know that when you get out into the real world, you're probably not going to even play any of those songs, or maybe if you do, it's going to be, whatever, but it also would be helpful to know how to like, what's some good deductions to do on your taxes as a self-employed musician.
Oh, man.
And
God
like,
damn it, you're so true.
like what, like, it's just as important to like show up to the gigs on time and like be reliable and it's just kind of like like when I was at UNF, we took, we had like 1 or 2 semesters of like commercial music, I think they called it. And it was like, all it did was teach everybody how to play like Happy Birthday and Hava Nagila and like Old Lang Syne and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, cool. But then how about like knowing how to just navigate the music industry and like how things really work and like what you can expect and like, you know, this is, I mean, you know, I think all musicians and any artist to some degree kind of accept and know going into it that, you know, there's a good chance that it's going to be a struggle and you're probably not going to make a ton of money. But at the same time, there are lots of us out there who are making a living doing this. We're not getting rich doing it, but I mean, like, we all have houses, we have families, like, you know, it's very doable. It's just, you've got to be, I mean, it's like you know, anything, I always say this is like, you know, it's like your talent level and your capability in your instrument only needs to be, you know, like so far. Anything above and beyond that is completely superfluous. And from that point on, what's almost more important than your musicianship is like your professionalism, how you are as a person. Can you work well with others? Like, that's the biggest thing too. I mean, we're 12 people on a bus that's designed to carry 12 people.
Must be insane.
You put one person in there who's a head case, and it's like the whole thing can just fall apart real fast. So it's like, you got, you know, it's so important, like those things that nobody tells you or talks about. You just end up, you figure out on your own, you know?
It's true.
How many music school guys? I didn't go to school or anything, but I worked with a lot of them.
That's
coming
obvious.
up. Okay, let's not talk about you, bud. So
At least I went and dropped out.
Yeah,
He tried.
I say dropped out. I failed out.
he failed out
Yeah.
with the classical program of all programs.
Yeah, first semester. What's up?
Yeah. But the biggest obstacle I noticed was that like they couldn't take gigs. It was always like, you guys are so busy with school. So do you know that you're turning down opportunities that can help get you established once you get out of school?
Yeah.
But like, you're not taking them because you have to go and practice,
Yeah.
which I get the practice aspect, but I mean, come on, I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, I know,
I still practice every day, bud. What do you do?
I know everybody's got different, like,
Practice
you
right
know,
now.
they different aspirations, and there's different reasons why people go to get music degrees and things like that. But I just think in general, like, they're just, and again, this is coming from a place of like, I have not been in school in many moons, so maybe things have changed and maybe they're a little bit doing more of that now. I don't know. It feels like the people I talk to about it, you know. Yeah. So I think that would be just the biggest thing I would say to any up and coming musicians, anyone across the board, but specifically those that are going to school for music or studying it, is
Stay out of school.
Stay out of school.
Yeah.
do drugs and stay out of school.
That's
No.
right. So you learn the real lessons in life.
Take people skills 101.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not that
Like,
hard.
know how to talk to people and just like be a human and be, you know, definitely check the ego at the door.
There's a big one.
That's
Check
probably the
ego.
biggest. That's probably the biggest pitfall, is the ego.
Mhm.
Just, you know, there's no room for it anywhere.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
What about you, Todd?
Let's see. Oh, you know, I on that side, you're not kidding. You know, the coping and dealing, living with people. You know, being you know, professional on the road, which, you know, I am most of the time. You know, but it is. I think that, you know, even I think a lot of guys are, how do you say it, guys and gals, right?
Or
it's
them.
like
2021.
y'all.
22. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I think on the musical side, it's being prepared, totally, truly being musical. When you don't have a crappy attitude and crappy ego, you're going to be able to lay down this person's music that you're representing, you know, that you're
Right.
working for, that they're paying you for, you know. And yeah, if you do get entitled about it and start throwing your fancy licks in over this guy's melody and that, yeah, you're not going to be around for very long. And that usually goes back to, you know, that kind of ego, the, you know, outplay you and, you know, cut your head off and here we go. And it's like, let's just play Lock Lusa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to go nuts.
Yeah, and I'd also
play
add
the song, lay the shit down, and you'll have a gig tomorrow again, you know. So I really think it is about being sensitive, compatible, and ultimately truly being musical and, you know, respectfully to the person that you're working for, you know. It's like, I'm not up there to show off, you know, and if I want to have a show off gig, we'll go to the Blue Jay.
Exactly.
And I'll
There you
get
go.
6 bass solos, play the same thing every time.
Yeah, I was just gonna add to that like people talk. You talk about 6 degrees of separation, and I feel like in the music business, it's more like 1.
Literally.
Yeah.
I mean,
really.
it's like it doesn't take long if you shit the bed on one gig bad. Like, it's you can depth charge your career real fast.
Yeah. That's one of my biggest fears for sure. Luckily, being a decent human being goes a lot further than fucking up. I feel like.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like nobody's gonna like, bust you up for like if you're on making an honest effort and if you're a good person. Like, if it's just not a good fit for the music, then it's just not a good fit for the music. No harm, no foul. But if you're like, if you're actively trying to sabotage the situation and just being like a douchebag, for lack of a better description, like, then that's the kind of stuff that there's just no room for that.
Totally. All right, unpopular opinions.
Yeah, rapid fire.
Yeah. What's yours, Bill?
Have y'all been watching? Do you like Star Wars?
Yes.
Okay. Did you watch the Boba Fett one? Yeah.
We were just talking about this yesterday. We have been watching it. We're not completely caught up.
Shit.
I think we're too.
Well, I don't want to ruin it for you then. Never mind.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Okay, well, I'll go first. If you want to think.
Yeah, I gotta
another
think
one.
of something else.
Okay.
No, seriously.
Not on this one.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I'm not gonna ruin that for you. But damn it, I'm gonna think of something else.
All right, we'll do it. We've been busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right, so my unpopular opinion is that John Mayer is my favorite member of the Grateful Dead.
This is a big topic in Colorado, by the way.
I can imagine, and I'm pretty sure that
Alive
if anyone out there watches,
or
they're gonna
just alive,
just all of them,
just all of them that ever happened.
Yep.
Oh boy.
It's like if Jerry was like the foundation, like John Mayer obviously couldn't exist in that role without him, but it's just like kind of stepped it up a little bit.
So unpopular.
You're gonna love this one. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I have not heard one note of 50 Dead yet.
Really?
Isn't that terrible? Like one time we were walking into the lobby of a gig, and it was before the pandemic, and they were playing some video, and I stood there for a minute and I watched, and I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. And then I moved along. I was like, I still haven't seen him. I haven't heard any of it, but I hear John Mayer, of course, catching hell. How would he not, it's like,
yeah, of course, man. Of course. I understand why people hate on it. I was reluctant at first too. I'm not like a huge Dead fan, but I was reluctant. And then I think Chris showed me like this live performance, and I was blown away. I was like, holy fuck, this guy was doing what John Mayer does a year ago. And now in the course of a year, he has studied and learned this genre and is nailing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy to do, like
Absolutely.
Jerry's such a unique player, was such a unique
Absolutely.
player. And John Mayer kind of captured it.
I agree. I like him. I mean, it's like, as a player, musician, and that, it's like, for a lot of years, I've heard him, and coincidentally, he lived in Atlanta for some years.
Yeah.
And he'd play at Eddie's Attic, and him and Zach Browne would play there.
Oh, wow.
Shit. Yeah, they've been, I know, that scene was nuts. But yeah, I've, heard him play quite a bit. I've seen him live a couple times. He's a great musician. You know what I mean, he gives a damn, and you can tell he's a big Deadhead, so much bigger Deadhead than I am. And I love the Dead, but I know what you mean. I definitely grew up on Led Zeppelin more than the Grateful Dead.
Exactly.
Myself,
I just have never been able to get into the Grateful Dead.
This podcast is
heresy, dude. Heresy.
I know Touch of Grey. That's
Oh my God, that's like
There's
that's like the
one
one that everyone
trucking,
hates too.
too.
yeah.
He's like,
I just
trucking. What's that?
I literally, I do know more than that, but I mean, it's just escaped me. And I was a big Mickey Hart fan because he did the whole thing where he did a couple CDs. And
Planet Drums.
Yeah,
stuff.
like I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And like those, I used to, actually used to put those CDs on to sleep to because all the like crazy ethnic percussion, and it was very like ethereal and stuff. So like I know about them and I know some of the music, but it's just it's never like captured me.
I feel
You
you.
know?
Yeah, I'm the same way, which is probably why I'm saying that I like John Mayer as a great member of the Grateful Dead, because
Yeah.
no real Deadhead
I'm a big
says that.
O'Teal fan, so he can
There
do
you-
no wrong in my book.
There you go.
That's
It's funny
for
that
damn
you
sure.
that you
Totally.
mentioned that, because somebody just sent me a meme the other day about Mayer and the Dead, and it was like, I'm paraphrasing, but I think it was like, Grateful Dead with John Mayer is like the equivalent of getting a blowjob while wearing a condom.
Oh no!
That's-
Oh, my
I was like,
God.
That's so
man,
accurate.
shots fired.
Couldn't
Jeez,
disagree
I
more,
mean-
but yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely, it's very heated.
Signed, biggest Grateful Dead fan in the
Yeah,
world.
exactly.
Yeah. It's
You
all
like zoom in, it's like, I don't know.
Oh,
At
shit,
least
that's great.
in that scenario, you're still getting a blowjob, though. I think that a real deadhead would just be like, no, you're not even getting a blowjob, bro. It's not even with a condom on. You're not getting it.
I just think it just looks weird. He's like,
Blowjob with a condom?
no, John Mayer on
Oh.
stage with all the dead. He just is like, at least what, 40 years younger than everybody on
I
stage.
don't know if he's, yeah, maybe. I
and
don't
it's just
know.
like, what? I
Yeah.
don't know. Do you think he's better than when Trey Anastasio was doing it?
Yeah.
Really?
Trey is great in Fish
Uh huh.
and his band.
Okay. All right.
I like Trey. I mean, Fish is one of the greatest bands I've ever seen live in my life. But if we can be honest, I feel like Trey shines in his band and in Fish. And then I've seen him in other scenarios where it's like, you get comfortable playing the tunes as much as they jam, but you get comfortable playing those tunes and where that's going to go. So yeah, I think Trey does what he does really well, but just sometimes when he's sitting in, it's not always the best.
Well, at least John Mayer's got a future in politics if he ever stops being a musician.
Yeah. What's
John-
your unpopular opinion?
John Mayer for mayor.
Yeah.
John Mayer.
Great fucking slogan. Anyways, so I had to nix my original one, which is I just don't want to give anything away, and you're in for a
We
treat.
appreciate that.
Okay.
We appreciate that.
So my next one, I'm just at the top of my head is if you're playing a sport, it's not a sport unless you're actually playing against somebody. So like fighting, 100% is a sport.
Yeah.
But the Olympics, nothing.
Ooh.
There's not. It's not. None of those are
They're
sports.
playing against other countries. Right?
No. That's not what I meant. I meant like they're just like skiing down a hill. Who can go ski down the fastest? That's not a sport.
Oh, well.
That's not a sport.
That is incorrect.
NASCAR, on the other hand, 100% a sport. There's
Why?
Like, there's 40 cars on the track.
He's from Kentucky.
Born and raised, want to fight about? Shoot. No, but, I was watching. There's 40 cars on a track. They're all going against each other. That's a sport. Golf, not a sport.
Golf is
Golf, not a sport.
Oh my
If they
goodness.
were both playing at the same time and whoever got in there first, that's a sport.
They're playing at the same time. They're playing at the same
So you
time.
like 12 downhill skiing, right?
Yeah,
12
at the same
once.
time.
Yeah, at the same time.
Why don't they do it at the same time?
Maybe-
That's a sport.
Logistically, it's probably kind of a hazard, right?
The Olympics in general are bullshit because it's all genetics. Like, well, it's not Winter Olympics. I'm just saying, like, who can jump the highest? Who can run the fastest? That's all it is. It's stupid.
That's what every sport
So we
is.
need, like-
No, it's not. It's about playing against somebody.
yeah,
what
but
he's saying is we need to take the Olympics and make it more like the Squid Games.
Mhm.
So there's like 12 people going down the mountain at once,
Yes.
and whoever doesn't make it, like the first one across survives, and then all the rest of them just like the bottom of the mountain opens up.
Yeah.
Walls.
1,000%. And like the ratings have gone through the shitter for the Olympics, and I'm just trying to boost NBC's ratings. So let's go.
okay.
Right,
NBC
right.
needs them, yeah, for sure.
You know, some hits while you're skiing or something. You're allowed to bump.
Yeah, 100% full contact alpine skiing. You can bring
I like
weapons.
it. I like it.
Do the Thunderdome.
I was actually kind of contemplating it as one of my possible unpopular opinions is that the Olympics aren't cool anymore.
No.
That's
they don't have
true.
any like stars anymore. I mean, they had
Yeah.
Usain Bolt and the like 12 years ago or whatever, but ever since then, or Michael Phelps.
Well, the medium is dying too, right? Like live television.
Yeah.
It's just that the people
Yeah,
aren't
well.
watching it anymore.
Yeah, maybe
So-
you don't make it in another country that's 13 hours ahead.
Or just make it, or like turn it into a podcast series.
Yeah.
And then people will watch it. 'Cause that's
Yeah,
apparently
if they
what's
can,
happening.
if they can like watch the Olympics on Netflix, then
Yeah.
it'd be like, oh, we're gonna binge the 2020. Like,
That's
sweet.
so true. Yeah, making it a series on Netflix.
Because I remember like when I was like a kid, and it was like you'd have the opening or closing ceremonies. It was like everybody was just like it was a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
We'd all watch it, and like all the pomp and circumstance around all of it was just like, wow, this is so cool. But it was also like that was what was on TV, and like the other stations that weren't carrying it, like made sure they didn't. They were like, well, we'll just run infomercials tonight because nobody's going to be watching this anyway.
right.
And now it's just like I feel like there's so much else going on, and it's like you hear about the Olympics, and then I don't know. I just feel like all the air is out of the balloon on those.
Well, it's a medium, and it every 4 years doesn't work anymore because
It
we're
doesn't hold
such
people's attention.
exactly. We need it all right now. It's like
No.
album cycles are the same way, right? Like say it used to be like 2 years, 18 months. Now it's like you better be releasing a single every month, motherfucker. Otherwise, you're not getting the visibility on Spotify. So it's the same shit with the Olympics. You know, it's like it's 4 years is just not quick enough anymore.
Are
for
there
people.
any like
Totally.
team sports in the Olympics?
They're all team sports, right?
baseball and
Because
they
they're all
have
playing for a country.
soccer.
They all face each other. They're all countries that are facing against each other, right? So they're all playing on teams.
I like the real world Olympics, like Russia versus Ukraine. That's a good one. Team USA.
Team USA.
Yeah.
What's your unpopular opinion, Todd? What you got?
I don't have any, man. I'm the happiest guy in the world.
He's agreeable.
Yeah,
So
it's
agreeable
all
with everybody.
That's an unpopular opinion, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Agreeable.
I had another slight one, which again, I don't know if this really qualifies, but it was that I think that social media as a whole has done more to harm the music industry and musicians and bands than it has done to help them.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
that's
a-
unpopular. That's unpopular.
This is a good one. We talked about Spotify and the streaming platforms a few weeks ago, and that my unpopular opinion was I don't think they're a terrible thing. But you know, that's a whole
True.
thing to dive into. But yeah, I think social media, if it's used properly, can be a force for good. But ultimately, it's probably done more harm than good to music as a whole.
I just feel like it's become more about the self promotion and marketing than it is about like let the music speak for itself. you know?
Totally.
So it's like,
Yep.
and I complain about this all the time too, where it's like, you know, you're trying to get endorsements with companies, and it's like, you know, we're out there playing shows in front of thousands of people, you know, just with JJ, you know, over 100 to 120 dates a year. And because I don't have an Instagram page with like 10,000 or 20,000 followers, like, no, it's like,
No free drums for you.
exactly. And it's like, I don't even want free stuff. I just want to be able to, like, you know, just some companies just, you can't even approach them. I mean, some of them are great, you know,
Yeah.
but some of them, it's like, you can't even get your foot in the door unless,
Oh, that
you
has
know.
changed.
And so there's like, you
completely.
know, there's like kids who are just sitting in their room, just like gospel chops all day, and they're amazing and they're incredible. But I'm like, well, okay, what are they actually doing though? Besides that, are they, I don't know.
I'm with you, man. I think that's definitely true. Even for us as a band, that wasn't established before the social media thing, right? It's like we're at a point now where it's impossible for us to really grow because we need, before we can even play a club in another city and sell tickets, say, well, what does your social media look like? It's like, well, I don't know, man, but we have like 2 albums out and we've done some regional touring. So if you let us come in and promote the thing right, we can make something happen here. But like, if you're not even giving me the time of day because I don't have like 10,000 followers on social media, then
completely.
what are we supposed to do here? You know, our hands are tied. So then it becomes about the content creation and all that stuff. And then we have to sell our soul to the thing just so we can be a working touring band, you know?
Yeah, really. And there is a weird thing. It's funny you say that about Spotify. Something I thought of also. It's to jokingly say that the royalty rate is just fine, you know, and it is for someone like me because like I wouldn't get shit otherwise. I wouldn't get anything that I'd worked and written with, you know, Derek or anyone, you know, if it weren't for streaming at any point, if it weren't for satellite radio and those things, be gone. You know, back in the day, you were on one of 7 radio channels, maybe 3 or 4 of them were really popular and all different, you know, subgenre playlists and things like that. So, yeah, without that, you know, shitty Spotify and everything else, I'd get absolutely nothing. You know?
People would still
I'm
be
sorry
listening.
to hear Taylor Swift isn't getting as much as she needs to. I love her. I really do. I like her stance and she gives a damn, you know. But yeah, it is. It hurts even harder, you know, on the lower levels, you know. It's like, yeah, you're not getting your rate. You should see mine.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Are you really going to send me a 13-cent check? What the fucking point of that?
Yeah, obviously you need it more than I do, so go ahead and keep it. Your 13 fucking cents, bro. Yeah, no, it's true. And then also it's like it's not even like people wouldn't be hearing the music at all because they were just downloading it before.
Yeah.
So it's at least now you get to see something off of that. You know?
It's out there. Yeah, it is. It's another side of it. But,
I want my jukebox model. It's going to change the face of it.
It's not going to happen, Bill.
hey, man. Let's just sell 45s for $3 a piece like it should be.
Yeah.
Old school. Pay more for a single than you do now. You know,
Yeah.
we laugh at that.
That sounds like a crazy grind to do right now. Imagine putting 45s and just selling them out of a trunk. Just be like, hey guys, so who wants to hear my single? Say, what are you from, like 1950? Fuck out of here. Anyways, I know you guys got to take off. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks,
It's a
guys.
pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
We're such fans, so it's awesome for us to be able to do this. And anything you guys want to plug real quick before this comes out in like 2 weeks from now? So,
You know, we're gonna be at the St. Augustine Amphitheater with JJ.
Yeah, weekend of fun
March,
in March 11th and 12th, I think, something like that.
Something in that range. Yeah, you're right. 11th and 12th.
So that's going to be fun. They just added Ben Harper to that lineup. So,
oh hell yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
so that's going to be a very fun weekend. And then,
Yeah,
I don't know. Other than that, I would just say support live music.
Yeah.
And,
most definitely.
you know, if you're seeing this and you're a parent of an aspiring musician, first of all, I'm sorry.
Don't show it to them. It's not gonna help them.
Yeah. But second of all, support them because that definitely
That's
goes
right. That's what you do. Get them a
and we
good,
both had
get
very
'em a good
supportive-
music
yeah.
teacher.
Yeah.
You know?
Put
That's
Craig's
right.
email down there at the bottom.
Yeah.
You guys. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for being here, and thanks for everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Adios, muchachos.